Hello, my name is Suzanne Jones, and this is my channel, Love and Pieces. This is a channel for anything creative, crafty, anything that brings me joy, and that's a lot of things. I always tell people that if there is an aisle for it in Hobby Lobby, there is a shelf for it in my craft room, so you can expect to see videos on everything from quilting, sewing, card making, quilling, jewelry making, whatever I find that is interesting and that I want to make. So I hope you'll enjoy this journey. This is the very first YouTube video I have ever made. I apologize in advance because this is very rudimentary. I'm sitting with my phone on my couch just trying to do this. The reason I'm not in my craft room is I am recuperating from knee replacement surgery, and I'm not able to sit in my craft room. I have to be in the living room where I can keep my leg propped up, and I'm beginning to go a little stir crazy. So I just, boredom, they say necessity is the mother of invention. I say boredom is the mother of creativity. And so here we go. We're going to start a YouTube channel. So I am a Stampin' Up! Lover. I subscribe to the Paper Pumpkins, which is a kit that comes out once a month. And it's an all-inclusive kit that has everything you need to be able to make cards, or there's sometimes home decor or little treats. It's a really wonderful little kit. Comes with everything you need except possibly scissors and, maybe a few standard tools. But really, scissors is about all you have to supplement with. I actually received this paper pumpkin. It is the Meaningful Flowers from August 2023. I got this in the mail on Monday, I believe, and maybe it was Friday, and instantly put it together. I mean, I didn't even wait. I ripped the packaging off of it and put it together because I really wanted something to do, and I've run through a lot of my other easy creative things that I can bring out here into the living room. And so I was so excited. I put it together exactly as the instructions show, which if you're a fan of Paper Pumpkin, or if you get into it, you'll see that there's the instructions that come with it, but then all these creative people on YouTube come along and they show you alternatives or ways to use the pieces in different ways. And I love that. But I had put my kit together, and then I started seeing all of the alternatives that people were coming up with. And that inspired me to go back and look at my cards. And I've actually taken a couple of them apart. So one of the cards that you could make, let's see, and again, I apologize. I've already thrown away the instructions. I've already put the cards together. This was done and dusted and in my craft room. And then I said, hey, wait a minute, let me pull that out and do something else. So this is the front of one of the cards, or this is one of the cards that you could make. Originally, it not only was this piece, but this piece was attached to the side. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. There we go. It was attached to the side so that this flap opened up. So that was the original card and how I originally put it together. I really, really liked this piece, and I thought this was beautiful. And together they kind of almost seemed too busy, or just, I get the idea of it, but it lost something together. So when I started thinking about what could I do differently, I decided to cut this piece off of the 4 cards that came like this. So I had 2 cards. Now, this I'm going to use in another video. I'll do it later on. I've not worked on them. I just literally cut them apart and laid them aside because this is the one I wanted to do first. Now, this is a punch out that you get in the kit. You just pop it out and then you can put it on your card front. I put dimensionals, that's little foam pieces to help hold it up and give it some layers. But I put that behind the flowers. And again, those dimensionals come in the kit. But the foam dimensionals are behind the flowers to hold it up. And then I did not put anything beneath the stems. I wanted it to kind of flatten out. And I used a drop of glue at the base to hold it onto the card. And then this is the sentiment strip. You stamp this. And again, you get the strip, the stamp, and the ink all in the kit. But you stamp this, and then I just used what we call tear-in tape. It's basically just double-sided tape, and if you're in the craft world, we call it tear-in tape, and it just comes off this roll. It's really handy. But I used that behind the sentiment, again, to keep it flat because it was inside this piece. Remember, this was going to be on the top, so I wanted this part to be flat, and the only thing to stick up was this part. Plus, I thought it kind of worked with the sentiment about you rise above the rest for this to be up higher and kind of lifted. Okay, so that is the I guess you would call it the inside of the original card. I've cut off what was the front and salvage this piece. And the whole reason I'm doing this the way I am is on the back, they've got the story of the forget-me-not flowers. That's what those little blue flowers are on the front. And I love cards that do this, that have some information about the design or the element. I've always heard of forget-me-not flowers and knew a little bit about them, but this kind of just tells the story for anyone who doesn't know. And so I didn't want to just glue this down on a new card base because I would lose this. So here's what I came up with. I went into my craft room, and I do love Stampin' Up! Paper and ink. You will find that that's a lot of what I use. It's going to be a hallmark in a lot of my channels. But I am not just Stampin' Up! I've got stamps and inks and products from other companies that I love, and you're going to see a mix of everything. This is actually not Stampin' Up! Paper. The only reason I pulled this was because I can't be in my craft room with my big trimmer. I'm having to sit in the living room and use one of my small trimmers. And I needed to just grab something small that I could work with. And I didn't have Stampin' Up! Paper small enough that I could work with. I only had 12 by 12. And so, again, being limited in what I can do, I just pulled some yellow cardstock that I had. Now, the good thing about Paper Pumpkin, if you do get into this Stampin' Up! And the Paper Pumpkin, the instructions on this tell you all of the different colors in the cards. So it tells you, and I think I'm going to quote that maybe this is Balmy Blue, Orchid Oasis, I can't remember the yellow, maybe Lemon Lolly was the name of the yellow, but the instructions tell you all the color names that coordinate with the Stampin' Up! Products, so you can then go into your craft room if you've got it, or if you get into it and you want to purchase it, you could purchase the exact colors that are in this card in colored cardstock. Again, I'm working a little bit otherly abled at the moment, so I had to go with what I could grab. And it's not an exact match, but I do think it's close enough. So what I did was I cut me a piece of yellow cardstock, and this is cut at 5.5, that's up and down, 5.5, which is a standard card measurement, 5.5 by 4.5. Now, typically our card fronts, like this, are 5.5 by 4.25. That is a standard A2 size card. You'll hear those measurements a lot. That's what we work with. The reason I added an extra 1/2 inch to the width is I then took this piece, put it in here right, and I scored it at 4.25. So that's 5.5 by 4.25, and now I've got a 1/4 inch lip. And I'm being a little specific in case some of you are not familiar with paper crafting, so I'm trying to talk about the instruments that I'm using. This is called a scoreboard. If you can see, it's got measurements at the top and then little ridges. And what you do is you lay your paper in. And if you need something cut or marked, scored or marked at a certain spot, this is called a bone folder. And you find the place where you want it and you run down the line. And it creates a nice, even score at that spot. Reasons to do this is it helps the paper to fold without cracking. Really good quality paper like Stampin' Up!, if you just fold it over sometimes and there's not a score there to show it what to do, it'll kind of start to crack because it's so heavy and layered in. That's good paper if it does that. This is not quite as heavy as Stampin' Up!, but I did still need to score it. It wanted to get a little wonky. So back to the instructions. 5.25 by 4.5. Actually, let me start that over. 5.5 by 4.5 and scored at 4.25 to create this lip. And then I folded it over. Now I'm going to take some liquid glue, and this is actually called Nouveau glue. Right now it's my favorite. I'm actually going to get some other glue and try out, but I really like the Nouveau glue. And I ran a bead of liquid glue right here on the side. Now, the reason I used glue instead of the tear-in tape is anything structural, I like to use liquid glue because I think it holds a little more firmly. Sometimes tear-in tape you can gently pull apart. And so I use tear-in tape a lot on embellishments and things like that. But for the most part, if it's structural, I'm going to use liquid glue. So I took my liquid glue and I ran it on the top side of this fold now. See how it's folded over? And I'm creating myself a hinge because I'm now going to glue this piece onto that little flap. And I've done that, so let me show you what it looks like. Oops. Well, where's my finished one? I had one finished. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Sorry. Again, first video, sitting on a couch. I promise I'll get better. I just don't promise when. Okay, so this is the card after I've glued it together. See, I glued the front onto this little hinge, and when you open it up, it's not the exact same color, but I think it works. It's nice. I may actually put some twine or something here in the middle to help break it up. But what I've done is I've saved that story about the forget-me-not, and I've used that piece to create a new card. Now, I'm going to take some white cardstock cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and that's my standard insert for what, and glue it down inside. And what that does is it gives me a nice white place to write my message inside the card. If I wanted to stamp another sentiment or something on here, I could. But when I put white pieces inside my card, some people will put just little strips, and I might do that on occasion, but for the most part, I put a pretty hefty size white piece in here. One, it makes the card a little bit more sturdy in case someone wanted to stand it up, which I think this one will stand up on its own. But I'm also, like I said, this white piece inside will help with that. But it also gives me plenty of room to write inside a card. And to me, if I'm going to take the time to make and send a card, I want to be able to put a special message in here. I really like being able to write inside my cards, so I use the bigger pieces of white cardstock. Now, I've not cut it down yet, but these were just some white blanks that I had, so I will cut that down. And what it will do is give me a nice small little border around it, and then a nice pretty white piece to write on the inside of my card. That, again, also helps hide some of that yellow in case it doesn't exactly match. I mentioned putting some twine on it. The paper pumpkin kit actually comes with some of this. I believe this is called natural twine. I don't remember the name of it, but this is a Stampin' Up! Embellishment that you can buy, but it came in the kit. I'm probably going to pull off a little bit and just wrap it here around the fold. You've seen cards with that where it just kind of wraps around inside, and then I can put a little bow right here just to add a little bit so that when you open it up, there's a little bit of interest here and helping to hide that hinge that I created as well. I think that's what I'm going to do. So, again, thank you for watching. I hope that this was interesting for you, or at least gave you some ideas. I hope you'll stick around to my channel, Love in Pieces. More videos will be coming, but it'll depend on my recovery. I had the right knee replaced in July, and now I'm going to have the left one done in November. So I'm going to be on the couch for several months, and all of my videos are kind of going to be this little wonky, do the best that I can. And when I get back in my craft room, maybe I'll have a nice light set up and all the ways to do these professional, beautiful videos that I see everyone else do. But thanks for watching. I hope you stick around. And again, my name is Suzanne Jones. Have a great day. Be creative and be nice to people. Bye.